Joining me on this episode of Close Up, I have Julian Lee Moriarty, the longest reigning Ring of Honor Pure Champion. Why did you drop Julian?
Well, I didn't drop it. It's just I like the separation a little bit in my personal life and my wrestling life, you know?
Who calls you Julian?
Honestly, no one in my family calls me that.
What?
My family nickname is Jewel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
and then
a
I
good
get,
one.
my mom would call me a lot Bruce Leroy because I grew up a Bruce Lee fan and
Okay.
then the Last Dragon movie.
So I've never seen The Last Dragon, but it seems like I know a lot of people that are quite obsessed with this movie.
Yeah.
Talk to me about why that hooked you in.
For me, I grew up with kung fu movies and stuff like that because of my dad, and then this kind of mixes in my culture of being a Black and African American.
Yeah.
So I just fell in love with that aesthetic a lot. Show Enough is probably my favorite movie villain of all time.
Okay.
And his personality and energy, and then this guy that kind of was a reflection of me, like a young Black kid in the Northeast who idolized Bruce Lee. So that's my connection.
Fair enough. That seems like a pretty direct connection. Why do you say because of your dad? Your dad was big into like kung fu movies?
Yeah, my dad is a huge like Shaw Brothers and all that stuff.
Okay.
The Five Element Ninjas, all those movies. He was the one that introduced me to Bruce Lee movies. He would always come to my bedroom on a random Saturday and grab my remote from my TV,
Hell yeah.
turn my channel, and turn on a different movie. So my introduction to Bruce Lee was the Return of the Dragon, I believe, when he went to Rome and he was fighting the guys in the alleyway outside the restaurant.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been hooked.
Ding, ding, ding. All the alarms going off. Okay, so you're a Bruce Lee fan, watching all these kung fu movies. When did pro wrestling start to seep into your life? To be like, maybe I could kind of be the new Bruce Lee.
Yeah. When I was 11 or 12 years old, my mom and siblings, they went to a cousin's graduation. I didn't want to go, so I just stayed home. It was a Friday night and I was channel surfing.
Okay.
And I came across an episode of wrestling, and then from there I was just obsessed because I grew up watching like the kung fu movies, Power Rangers and things like that.
Yeah.
And this
I wanted
looked
to be
like
the Pink Ranger.
the Pink Ranger,
Bad.
the original,
Bad. Yes.
Mighty Morphin.
Yes. Yes.
I get that. That was a big influence, Power Rangers and things like that, the aesthetic. And I actually like learned about Super Sentai, which is the original in Japan.
Okay.
But I also was always into art. Like as far as I can remember, I grew up drawing and things like that. I wanted to be a cartoonist before pro wrestling.
Okay.
And when I saw this looked like a combination because the elaborate costumes, the entrances and things like that, but also the combat aspect of the sport. So from there, I was just obsessed, and I knew I wanted to be a pro wrestler from that day on immediately. I would watch every week, and that would just gradually.
It seems like it was quite vivid memory of like exactly the first time you saw it.
I remember the way our living room looked like. I remember where the TV was, where I was on the couch, everything.
What was the snack? Do you remember what you were eating?
I don't think I was. I might have had like a lean cuisine meal or something because I was home by myself. So I just, whatever I could make in the oven or microwave, I was eating and watching that.
It's funny to like have those memories that you can just like drop in on.
Yeah.
And to find like how people just attach themselves so much to pro wrestling, whichever capacity it might be. And for you to have like the art influence combined with the kung fu to like see those worlds combining in pro wrestling. I mean, you know, I loved performance, but I loved doing sports as well. So once pro wrestling kind of landed in my lap, I'm like, oh my God, it's all of these things together. And once you're hooked, you're hooked. And here we are. Okay, so you wanted to be a cartoonist before you wanted to be a pro wrestler. And we'll talk about your art because I know it's obviously a huge part of your life. But having art and pro wrestling come together, I mean, how does that affect your style and your influence, and whether it's, you know, how you present yourself to how you're working in the ring? How does that all kind of come together for you?
I think it influences my aspects of like when I draw inspiration from things, it's not really from professional wrestling that already exists.
Right.
So how I learned to draw as a kid was copying the VHS covers of Dragon Ball Z or Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading cards and all these things. So I was a big anime fan growing up. I was also a big comic book fan. Like my parents both were into comic books when they grew up and they passed that on to me.
Okay.
So my aesthetic now with the tiger mask and things like that is somewhat Spider-Man or Black Panther and things like that. And then I would add more of, you know, fashion, which is streetwear styles. I have the puffer coat, which is this influence. All my influences come from movies,
Seems hot to walk to
cartoons.
the ring in a puffer coat.
There's definitely times where we're in certain venues and it's the worst thing ever, and then sometimes it's the best thing ever, depending.
Are you like an oil on the body guy?
No,
Okay, I was gonna say, because that inside the jacket makes it's like sensory overload to me to imagine peeling that off.
Nah, my style of wrestling, I can't do the oil.
Yeah, fair enough. Yes. What does Tiger style mean to you?
For me, originally, Tiger style was about blending all styles of professional wrestling, which was the Japanese style, the European roller sport style, or lucha libre. Because I grew up and I loved all forms of pro wrestling, so I wanted to combine them. As I got older, Tiger style became more of my unique interpretation of professional wrestling and art. And it's the only way that I can see professional wrestling. No one else can see professional wrestling the same way as me.
Yeah.
There's people that can see it similarly, but the way I look at professional wrestling with an artistic mind is why things are unique to me. Like, I think there's no one in professional wrestling that looks like me. There's no one in professional wrestling that wrestles like me in this combination. So I'm a unique version of myself. And then the name comes from my influences like Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with.
That's
the beginning of that song, you hear it. Yeah, and that's like my promos, I would use that as a tagline at the end.
Yeah.
But all caps of Tiger style comes from MF Doom. So all these different things like hip hop and culture and stuff come into who I am. And that's what makes me a unique professional wrestler. And that's what makes Tiger style.
How fulfilling is that for you to be able to check so many boxes of all the things that you love and to turn that into your profession? Like, that's crazy.
It's very special, and it's something that I never take for granted, because growing up, I would always hear how professional wrestling was, they'll give you this character, they'll give you this, you'll do this, you'll operate as this. But when I came into professional wrestling as an independent wrestler, I got to do my own thing, make my own style influence. Aside from, like, I wanted to be a master wrestler, but my trainer was like, nah, not yet. And then I figured out how to bring that in on myself. But then when I came to AEW, they were like, just keep being you.
Yeah.
And that would gradually evolve things from the style of how my mask looked to, originally I was wearing baseball jerseys, to now the puffer coat.
Yeah.
So I am very grateful that I'm allowed to express my artistic vision for who I am as a wrestler.
How far ahead do you look of how you want to evolve and change your style and start to move into something else? Do you think about that, or you kind of just feel it as you're going?
It's a combination of I plan things, but also I feel as I'm going, because you never know with professional wrestling how things might change.
Yeah.
One day I could be in this group, and then the next I could be on my own, or one day I can be going through the left side of the tunnel or the right side of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So all these things change. Like even right now, I have in mind changes to my aesthetic, but I don't necessarily know when I'm going to implement them.
Okay.
It just depends on how things change and evolve in my career.
So taking it back to your love of professional wrestling, you just rattled off all the different styles that you love and that you draw from. But from that first moment in your living room, watching pro wrestling for the first time, how did you start to branch off into all these different genres, to getting to the Japanese style, to the lucha libre style? Like, what was sort of your introduction to those worlds?
So I am an internet kid. I grew up with the internet, so it was a lot easier for me than maybe people who are older than me.
Yeah.
So just surfing the internet, trying to find more of what I was already watching. One of the guys who worked for the previous company, he was in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So then I found that, and then I got into New Japan Pro Wrestling. Late night channel surfing again, I came across Sting wrestling on the program in LAX. So I got into that. And then just the more and more I would find of different things, like my all-time favorite wrestler is the first Tiger Mask, Satoru Sayama. And I would follow his career, and then I found out he wrestled in British wrestling. Nigel McGuinness, another guy who influenced me, comes from British wrestling. So I learned about that, and I would learn about the world of sport programming. Then Lucha, obviously, like, was a big influence because of Rey Mysterio. And I, like I said, I wanted to be a masked wrestler. I wanted to be a luchador and things like that.
Why did you want to be a masked wrestler so bad?
The idea of being like the superhero and character and stuff like that. So Spider-Man and all that, I can apply that.
You got a good face you can't hide that face.
And that's what my trainer is saying. I couldn't do it. And then, that's where all that comes from, is just gradually my obsession with wrestling led me down more paths to finding more and more wrestling, like French wrestling.
Oh, yeah. I mean, French wrestling is certainly not one that's brought up all too often. Maybe a little more French Canadian. We've got a lot of famous French Canadians. from all of these different genres and some of the different people that you've rattled off, I find within AEW we have so many legendary wrestlers.
Yeah.
You cannot walk down those hallways without being like, oh my God, this person, this person. Have you had that moment of either getting to wrestle somebody in a situation like that, or just getting to learn from some of these guys? What has your experience with that been?
It's been extremely surreal because there's so many people I never thought I would have wrestled that I've been in the ring with, especially because different points in their careers, they were retired.
Yeah.
So I've wrestled Bryan Danielson, who at one point was retired. He's one of my all-time favorites. I've wrestled Katsuyori Shibata, who at one point was retired because of injury. I wrestled Adam Copeland, who was at one point retired, and it just keeps going. Nigel McGuinness and all these. Nigel McGuinness in Hammerstein Ballroom for the pure title that he made famous. It's like all these things, and I just don't take them for granted. And then I get to learn from all these people too in the ring. Like I always show up early to the shows, and I get in the ring and I learn from whoever I can.
Yeah. So to be the longest reigning Ring of Honor pure champion, you talked about some of the previous champions.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to hold that title and to have had it for such a long time?
Yeah. It's special. I use that word a lot, like surreal and special, but I think it's just because I always accept that I have these really cool moments for me and I don't take any of it for granted.
Yeah.
But that pure title was a goal of mine that I always wanted. I wanted to wrestle for Ring of Honor, and it almost happened, but then the pandemic came around. I got to have one match with Ring of Honor immediately after signing with AEW, and then I came here and Tony bought it, so that opportunity to become pure champion became more realistic.
Yeah.
And that has been the goal since. Like once the opportunity was there to get the pure title, I wanted that. I wrestled Shibata for it. I came up short, but eventually that moment came. And since then, it's just been do what I can to elevate the pure wrestling style, because I think it's a cornerstone of what makes Ring of Honor unique and different.
Sure. Okay, let's talk a little art. To be the first professional wrestler, active professional wrestler, I don't know if that part matters or not. You're a professional wrestler that have had your art in a major museum.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Okay, break some of this down for me. I'm not in the art world, if you could believe it or not. But this is incredible.
Yeah.
How did this all come together?
So like I said, I've always been drawing since I was a kid. I actually didn't like painting growing up.
Yeah.
It was my least favorite thing because I
messy.
had. Yeah, exactly. I didn't have control. With pencil, you can erase to start over. If you work digitally, you can just push the backspace button or something.
Sure.
So painting wasn't my thing. A few years ago, maybe 4 or 5, I just got back into it again for fun. And then I was talking to a guy named Adam Odalu who runs his own independent promotion and things like that. And he does PR for art and stuff like that. And I was like, how do I go about displaying my art in galleries? And he was just like, paint bigger.
Okay.
So I started painting
Like bigger scale?
Bigger scale, things like that. I moved to Florida from Pittsburgh, and then my perspective on things changed. So the first painting I ever did was a recreation of Jushin Thunder Liger with the suit on, because I always thought that was a cool aesthetic. Luchadors or masked wrestlers with suits.
Yeah.
It's so unique.
Yeah.
And then living in Florida, I got to experience like nature and greenery very different. So I wanted to incorporate that and add that. And I kept going from there. And very quickly, he messaged me like, hey, there's this show in Miami during Art Basel. It's called Nada Miami, and it's an art fair. I can get you a booth there, and we'll present it through Orange Crush magazine. And then I did that, and
You sold out, right?
I sold out
You
all
sold
the paintings.
out. He didn't sell out. He sold out his paintings.
Yeah, and then it's
That's
just
so
been so
cool.
fast. Yeah,
And they go for like a pretty penny.
way more than I thought they would.
I started looking it up because I'm like, wait, I want to acquire one of these. They're awesome. But yeah, good for you. Make a little coin on those. So talk to me about the idea of using luchadors in more like common settings or out of the ring, seeing them as like regular people. Why was that the idea of what you want to put on canvas?
It's a few influences. Blue Demon and El Santo are famous luchadors, and they would have movies and things like that where they're outside the ring, they're crime fighters, they're doing all these things, they're going to dinner at restaurants and stuff like that, still in the mask, these fancy suits.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the aesthetic, but then it's just the fact that even outside of professional wrestling, we're still people, but we're still professional wrestlers. So there's always going to be this part of us that no matter, even if we're outside of a ring, we're still professional wrestlers. We still think about like that. Like I remember people telling me like the things they learn in professional wrestling has helped them in their real personal lives. And then I wanted to translate this side of us, like we're not always these angry, aggressive, violent. Originally, back in the day, they would think lizard brain people, like, because I feel like back in the day, people would think professional wrestling is the simplest form of entertainment. Like,
Right.
it's just violence or whatever. They didn't think about the art form. Whereas in British wrestling, this was like a Sunday afternoon outing. It was like a high class thing.
Yeah.
In other cultures, the same thing. So I started painting things like luchadors picking flowers, luchadors grilling, luchadors riding bikes,
Yeah.
you know, fishing and stuff like that to show a more peaceful side and a balance. Because for me, that's very important. It's a balance in my life.
Yeah.
Is outside of this loud, very in your face lifestyle, I can just go home and be myself,
Yeah.
quiet, closed in, walking my dog, taking pictures of flowers and things like that.
Yeah. You know, it's an interesting point too of like how often pro wrestling gets put in this box of a base level of entertainment. It's, you know, this lowbrow kind of thing. But the more you get in the weeds of it, you're like, oh my God, it makes your brain explode in terms of the storytelling, the artistry that goes into it. How many conversations do you end up getting in of being like, wait, pro wrestling is not the thing that somebody else might think that it is?
I think more so with my painting and people who don't necessarily know pro wrestling, it's coming up more and more, and people are understanding professional wrestling. Like I met someone, her name is Catherine Pill, and she works in the art museum in St. Pete, Florida, and she recently became a wrestling fan, and she started appreciating more of the art form, the storytelling and things like that,
Yeah.
the aesthetics and how this is a form of art. And I personally, and maybe it's biased because I'm in professional wrestling, I think it's like the hardest form of storytelling you can do
Yes.
because we're live. We have one take.
Weekly.
It's
Come up with new
weekly.
stuff every week.
Injuries happen, you know,
Yep.
adjustments have to be made when like writing and formatting a show and all these other things. There's so much that goes in professional wrestling that we don't realize. Even as wrestlers, there's things we don't realize until we get into other
Every
perspectives.
time I think I got a good grasp on this, something else comes up. I'm like, oh my God, it's another way to look at things, another way to
Yeah.
like analyze different things. Like it is one of those beasts that just continually grows, and it's
Yeah.
never the same. It's never going to stay the same.
It's always evolving. And I feel like me doing this with my art, incorporating professional wrestling, I'm able to, I don't want to say educate, but expand the minds of
Yeah.
people in the art world who don't necessarily understand professional wrestling outside of what they just see when they're channel surfing
Yeah.
or they just see this quick clip on the news.
Sure. Okay, you've got another art show coming up.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. It's in LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be at LA, the Night Gallery, starting September 27th through October 18th, I
To
believe.
be out there the whole time?
No,
Okay.
I just have to
You
be there for
put
the
the
opening
art up.
day.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there for the opening day, and the art will be on display for people to go see. And I think the best way to appreciate a lot of like art that's physical is to see it in person, because that way you can see the texture and the depth of things, especially with people who paint with acrylics and things like that, because there's so many layers and blending that go into it.
Yeah.
When you see it in person versus through a screen or a camera, you can appreciate it that much more.
What is the piece you're most proud of right now in this collection coming up?
That's tough. There's
All your
two.
babies. Kill your darling.
Yeah, and it hurts because it's funny. Because they all sold out the first time. I don't own any of my original art currently.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like
Did
I
you-
always have this connection.
Did you keep any of anything?
No.
Oh my
so,
gosh. Okay.
Like the art fair that I did in Miami, whenever he came to me about it, I didn't know they all had to be up for sale when you display them. So it was like, but eventually I found out like before the show, so I was able to mentally and emotionally prepare
At
myself.
least you got paid.
Yeah, definitely. But like I have one coming up. It's called the Pink Mink Portrait, and it's
Oh my gosh, I saw some
one,
of
yeah.
that. It is, oh my, like that jacket comes to life. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it.
That's one of my favorites, and I think one of the ones I'm most proud of in this series because of the time it took
Yeah.
to try to
How long did
paint
that
the
take you?
fur. So my goal was to do a painting a month because I got contacted about this event in January this year, and I had no paintings because they all sold.
Yeah.
And I had to have 8 done. So this one probably took me a month, but maybe a little more than a month. And
Yeah.
it was just nonstop staying up all night trying to figure out. And it was my first time ever painting a portrait style luchador at this size, painting
Yeah.
the cherry blossoms. It was all these things I've never done, and I just wanted to challenge myself and do it. And it was a reference to a very famous hip hop photo of Cameron with the pink mink and the cell phone and things
Yeah.
like that. So it's again fusing my influences of wrestling, of art and nature with hip hop culture.
So cool. Yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, man, that is like, it's just popping. Oh, it's so cool. Well, thank you for sitting down
Thank
with me.
you.
It was fun to just shoot the shit with you. An interesting fellow this man is. If you're out in the LA area, make sure to check out the art. People can find that all on your Instagram.
Yeah, you
to
can
see
find
exactly
it on
where to go.
Instagram, the Lee Moriarty, or the Night Gallery's website. You can get all the information for that.
Perfect. The Pure Champion, everybody.
That's right.